Welcome back to the Daily Drop. Okay, so Reeve, I want to get a little bit critical, just because I really want to understand the merge for our audience here, right? Because let's be honest too, the merge has been delayed multiple times. I mean, it was originally promised a couple of years ago. Like, is this something that we should be suspicious over?
No, not at all. If you know about technology roadmaps and how complicated it is to release any successful technology, there's always delays and typically lots of bugs. And so depending on the importance of the technology, they'll delay it to ensure there are zero bugs. So they actually released a side chain they released the Beacon chain a few years ago in 2020 and have been testing it significantly. And so finally, after years of testing, they're ready to merge the two and switch from proof of work to proof of stake. The reason why I say it's not a challenge that it's delayed is mainly because the analogies being used about how complicated this is span from take a car driving down the highway at full speed and try to swap out the gas-powered engine for an electrical engine. Or you can say a jet plane filled with passengers swapping the engines mid-flight, or even a rocket ship going to Mars. Like, how do you swap out that engine without screwing up anything in that mission? And that's what they're doing. That's why this is touted as one of the biggest accomplishments in blockchain, because the level of sophistication and the delicate balance they need to do to ensure that any of these transactions are not lost and the tens of billions of dollars of value that goes through Ethereum per day is not disrupted is really, really challenging. So that's why it gets delayed, to ensure the best possible outcome.
Reeve, I gotta say, like you're like such an expert at taking complex ideas and distilling them down into very simple terms that you can communicate to an audience, which I think is the most important skill in the space. So I just want to give you that compliment. But now I'm going to give you another challenge, just because I want to know. So, like, the merge is really only 20% of what was originally promised, right? And then they did this thing where all the things that were supposed to happen at the same time, they've kind of divided into 5, and then they have these rhyming names like the splurge and the purge, all these things, right? So do you think that this is a bit of a cop-out? I know that's a bold question, but it just seems like a bit of a marketing narrative. If instead of having all the things happen at the same time, we're only doing 1/5 of them, it just seems like a little bit sketchy, you know what I mean?
Well, back to what I was saying about the car and swapping from a gas engine to an electric engine mid trip, right? When you're at full speed. And so that's why they've broken it up into the merge, the verge, the splurge, the purge, 5 different rhyming names that are going to each make Ethereum better. But the big misconception today is that this merge is going to make Ethereum faster and transactions cheaper. It will not. It lays the foundation to do that. But ultimately, the more transactions, the throughput moving from 13 transactions per second to over 100,000 transactions per second, that will come in about 6 months when they introduce sharding. But this upgrade, the merge, is just about moving from proof of work to proof of stake. But before I go a little deeper, I actually want to give you another bit of an analogy. Think about the internet. You've heard of TCP/IP, HTTP, and FTP, but no one really knows what those are. The average person, you might even know what the words mean, but you don't know how those protocols work. And you don't care. Why not? Because no one's made money on that protocol layer. The only place you make money is in the websites, the application layer. So when the internet came out, everyone got very excited about the brand new websites, the search engines, Yahoo, AltaVista, AOL. Back in the day when it first came out, those were these multi-million, billion-dollar companies. And that's where the excitement was. In the blockchain layer, it's been around 10 years. We haven't even really gotten to the application layer. The application layer is just becoming upon us through DeFi and these different applications of these protocols. But the reason why this is important is because people are trying to understand the plumbing. Like, they're trying to understand the protocol layer, because in the blockchain world, people are making a lot of money on those protocol layers, where in the internet, no one made any money on FTP or HTTP or the different protocols there. So it's really important to understand that you're trying to, as an average person, trying to understand very complex technology applications just because that's where money is being made, not in the application layer. I hope that resonates, where when people are concerned that I don't get blockchain. Well, you probably don't get FTP or HTTP either, but you don't need to. You want to get blockchain because there's potential to make lots of money, so people are excited about it. So just don't forget that it's very complex. And so when people talk about the merge and movement of proof of work to proof of stake and it doesn't really sink in, it's okay. What you really need to know or hope for is that it works. Back to your question of why did they break it up into 5 parts, is because they are going to do their best to ensure that it works. So they can't do it all at once.